What's up, guys? My name is Ryan, and I spent the last few years exploring the beautiful continent of Europe. I want to show you how to do it and how much it costs. So here's my Europe travel guide. Europe is one of my all-time favorite places to visit. For the last 3 summers, I've made it a tradition to spend a month traveling all over the continent. While it can be expensive, I'd like to show you how to do it affordably. There are many variables that will affect your costs, but I'll do my best to help with a good estimate. I'll go over my costs for my trip first. So in 2018, I did an epic trip. I flew into Milan, and then I spent 5 days in the Dolomites. So then I flew to Rome, and then I filmed a cruise ship across the Mediterranean. After that, I went to Greece for about another week. I was in Santorini and Zakynthos, and then I went back to the Dolomites for another 5 days. And then I flew up to the top of Europe to Norway and spent my last part of the month there. And then I flew back home. And that trip ended up costing $3,000. I spent $1,300 for 10 flights. I spent $500 on rental cars and then $200 on gas. I spent $250 on lodging, and I averaged about $20 on food a day, so that was $600 for the month, and then $150 in random costs. So the next year for my month-long trip, I flew into Scotland and I spent about 5 days there. And then I flew over to Switzerland and spent a week road tripping around the Alps. Then after, I went to Austria and I road tripped that whole country. I flew to Sweden for a few days, and then I flew down to Bulgaria and filmed a hotel, and then I flew back home. So for that trip, I spent over $1,000 in rental cars, mainly because I was renting cars in very expensive places such as Scotland and Switzerland. I spent $400 on gas. I spent $1,500 on 9 flights. I spent $450 on food, and then I spent $300 on lodging. I was pretty cheap with my lodging. I slept in a car or an airport for about 25 out of those 30 days. It was a little tough. And then about another $150 on random expenses, and that totaled out to be $3,800. Keep in mind that when I travel, I'm going to a lot of places, and I tend to go to expensive places in Europe, so this keeps my costs high, and you can do it a lot cheaper than I did. So let's go through what will be your main costs on your trip and how you can budget how much you want to spend. So the first thing is flights. When I fly to Europe, I try not to spend more than $500 round trip on my flights. I mean, this is pretty doable if you plan ahead and you go in the less popular months, such as going in May or going in September or in the wintertime. From the United States, it's pretty easy to find tickets from $300 to $400 out of major airports to airports such as London and Paris in Europe. So now you're in Europe, your 3 main expenses will be lodging, transportation, and food. So let's start off with lodging. When I travel, I prefer to stay at Airbnbs. In most places, you can find a place to stay for $20 to $30 a night. I love Airbnbs because they let you experience the place on a different level, because you get to stay in someone else's home and see how they live. If you plan on staying somewhere for a long time, you can find an affordable Airbnb for a long stay, such as a month, from anywhere from like $500 to $1,000 a month. That's about as much as people pay back in the States for rent. So it's definitely doable. I provided a link down in the description that'll give you $40 towards your Airbnb. It'll also give me $40. It'll be a win-win situation for both of us. Anyways, another option is to stay in hostels. They can range from $10 to $30 a night, and they are a great way to meet fellow travelers and make some new friends. Okay, so now let's talk about transportation. When I travel, I almost always get a rental car. I love them because they let you go wherever you want to go, and they also give you a safe place to stay, to store your stuff. To save money when I travel, I will often sleep in my car instead of getting an Airbnb. I like this because it saves me a lot of money on lodging, and it also forces me to not waste any time lounging around in the mornings. I just get up and go and don't waste any time. Rental cars are actually pretty cheap. For example, when I was in the Dolomites for just 5 days, it was only $50 for my rental car, and then I had to pay like another $50 for insurance, so it was over like $100. So that's not too expensive, about $20 a day. Rental cars will cost anywhere from $15 to $50 a day, depending on where you're at. I like to go onto kayak.com to book my rentals. If you plan on sleeping in your car when you travel, I definitely recommend bringing a pillow and a warm blanket, and you should be good. As for food, you do you on this one. Depends how much you want to spend. When I travel, I try not to go over $20 a day, and that's actually pretty easy. A lot of times it'll be a lot less. I would recommend getting away from restaurants and expensive places, either going to the grocery store and buying and making your food. What I like to do is I won't eat it all in the day, besides like granola bars. And then at night, after I'm done exploring, I'll treat myself to a nice dinner at like an Italian restaurant where I can buy a nice pizza for like $10. I hope that gives you an idea of how much your trip will cost. I'd say you could easily do a trip anywhere from the $1,000 range to $5,000 range, depending on how uncomfortable you want to be. Here are a few things that will dramatically reduce your cost. The first is traveling with somebody else. This will help out a ton, because when you travel with somebody else, you'll be able to split costs such as the car rental, the gas, your Airbnbs, and this will save you hundreds of dollars. Plus, it's a lot funner traveling with a friend. Secondly, is staying in one place for a long time. This will dramatically lower your cost because you won't be spending money on flights visiting other places, and you won't have to worry about getting a rental car, and you'll probably just get around by using the public transportation. And depending on where you stay, you'll be able to cook and prepare your food, and this will save you tons of money by not going out. If you do this, your cost can be in the $1,000, $2,000 range for a month. What I found is you might have to make a sacrifice in one of those 4 categories in order to make that trip not as expensive. Anyways, I hope that helps. I've never regretted the money that I've spent on a trip. The memories and the experiences are always worth the money that I spent. You'd always make more money, but you can never have more time. So if you have a chance to go to Europe, definitely recommend it. Anyways, it's Ryan, and we will see you later.